feel that way? Like, do you feel like your hair is like thin, or like no matter what you do, it always looks scalpy? Like, that's another huge issue of fine natural hair, is that it looks scalpy, or it's not thick, or, it's not doing the things that you want it to do. And so that was me until I started like charting my journey. I started really like paying attention to things that work and things that don't work. So in paying attention to things that work and things that don't work, I came up with like five pretty good tips that have really helped to like not necessarily make my hair thicker, but give the illusion of it being thicker. And these tips that I'm about to like delve into, they're not tips that are necessarily flowing all over the place, but they're definitely tips that are helpful, that you kind of get a feel of over time. So hopefully by sharing this with you guys, it can cut down your learning curve in your journeys, because we all trying to be out here getting healthy, long, fine, natural hair, right? Shadia, yes, I am just trying to get the hang of it. Yes, and that makes complete sense. It's very difficult in this, in this environment where most naturals do not have thick hair or fine hair. Sorry, yeah, most naturals do not have fine hair. And if they do have fine hair, a lot of the times they don't even know that that's what the issue is. They tend to think that the issue is just that their hair is just not healthy. Anyhow, so tip number one, you guys are probably not going to be surprised at this tip, because tip number one is that you need to deep condition your hair regularly. Yes, girlfriend. There's no getting around it. Like, honestly, deep conditioning will change your life. If you're not deep conditioning your hair at least once per week, you got to get on it, because deep conditioning is that thing that it might not look dramatically different today, but it will look dramatically different in like, say, a month from now, or even a year from now. A year from now, your hair is going to look completely different. Give it like 3 to 6 months and you'll see a change. But once like an entire year passes by, girl, like those weekly deep condition treatments are going to do nothing but goodness for you. If you can stomach it, then I would say even try going for like regular deep condition sessions, like twice a week. So that means that instead of doing 52 deep conditioning sessions, you're going to be doing 104, which is like even better, because the way to get the moisture into your strands and for it to stay in your strands is to deep condition. There's no product on the market, I don't care what it is. There's no oil, definitely not an oil, that can moisturize and truly hydrate your strands. Shadia, it was you who educated me about my fine strands. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very happy that I'm a part of your hair journey, because I've been there and I'm still there sometimes where you feel like your hair is not where you want it to be. Those days are now changing for me. For the most part, I know how to make my hair behave the way I want it to behave. But it really is a journey for sure. Pretty Brownie 1, and your hair feels great after a good DC. Yes, it absolutely does. Your hair feels 1,000,000% better. So jumping into tip number 2, you want to take advantage of frizz. So you might be doing like a braid out, or you might be doing a wash and go, or a twist out, or a perm rod set, whatever. And you're going for that, that laid and slayed look. The thing with fine natural hair is that you want to find the balance for yourself between your strands when they're like nice and juicy and plump, and in whatever curl pattern you've decided to set it in. You want to find the balance between that and between frizz, because frizz is going to make it look a little bit more thicker, a little bit more fuller. If you've ever looked at some of the posts that I've got on Instagram, you guys will notice that those posts, they usually tend to, the curls are not completely 100% defined. And that is actually on purpose, because I understand the role that frizz can have in making strands look thicker than they actually are. And so that's my that's definite number 2. And it even applies, like, say you're going for like a straight look, like you want to straighten your strands and you want them to look like sleek. You can achieve that with a simple blowout and then have body to it at the same time. So yeah, maybe we're not able to like slay our strands like dead bone straight. But number 1, that's not good for your hair anyways. And number 2, it doesn't look very good on fine strands. Like, it literally will look like, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about when I say when you flat iron your hair and like literally it looks like sheets. Like, it just looks like flat down here to your head. That's because it's lost its bounce. Like there's no bounce to it. We don't have enough layers on our strands to be able to allow for that like completely silk press look. Like it's not the best thing in the world for us. It's damaging and it doesn't give the best look. So that would be my second tip. My third tip would be that you want to use lightweight products. So the lighter your products are, the better, honestly. So a lot of us, if you're anything like me, you would have tried different things. Like you might have tried shea butter, you might have tried coconut oil, you might have tried mango butter, you might have tried castor oil even. You might have tried all of these different things and you're wondering to yourself, like, why is it that the natural on the screen is having such fantastic experiences with these products and literally all I'm getting is like completely flat hair that's stuck to my head or that's greasy or that has buildup or that it's just not feeling good? That's because the product is way too heavy for you. And believe me, girlfriends, I'm just like you. I had those issues. I still sometimes have those issues where I might be using a product and the product is just too heavy. Most recently, even this year, the beginning of this year, like Shadia, she says my hair doesn't like shea or coconut. I'm with you on that. In January, I thought coconut was working for me, coconut oil as a pre-poo. I took that out of my regimen and my hair started to flourish. It actually started to look thicker and more fuller and all the things that we as naturals are, really pushing ourselves to kind of achieve. So that's tip number 3, that you want to use lightweight products. Tip number 4, and it's related to tip number 3, but it's also so important that I think it deserves a tip all on its own, is that you want to kind of avoid shea butter. I know. Shea butter is like literally like the holy grail of natural hair, but it's really not that good for you, you guys. Like shea butter for fine strands is going to do nothing but not only weigh it down, but it's also going to end up breaking your hair off because that is just way too heavy for your strands. And if you're low porosity, that's even worse. So if you're using shea butter, just give it a week. So with any of my tips, you don't want to take it as holy grail. I would never say my tip is holy grail and no tip is holy grail. What you want to do with those tips is you want to incorporate just one at a time and see how that works for you. If that works well across the span of a week, then keep on going. But if that doesn't work, then you know for a fact that, okay, I've got to try something else. And I would advise to do that for every single step of the way with your hair journeys to see what's working for you and what's not working for you. Shadia says, I had to finish using that shea butter on my skin. I'm with you on that. The exact same thing. Like there was this product, quick story before I get into tip number 5, but there was this product that I was using from Oyen Handmade. It's their whipped shea butter. Fantastic shea butter. It's whipped. It's light. It smells amazing. It's great. And so I thought that was working as a sealant because I know a lot of us, myself included, we use those butters, we use those heavy oils as sealants to lock in the moisture. But it was too heavy. And so like Shadia again, I just ended up using that on my skin. And I had a fantastic time with my skin because it was wintertime and it was heavy and it was great. So, I mean, if you're a product junkie and you've got all these oils, you've got all these butters, you could just use it like Shadia. Like you could definitely just use it as use it on your skin, use it on your feet. There are so many ways to repurpose these things. Or if you're living with a partner, maybe you can use it on he or she. You could do those things too. And like maybe what doesn't work for your hair might work for their hair and vice versa because everybody's strands are different. So my 5th tip is that you want to finger detangle your strands. If you don't finger detangle your strands and you're using just purely tools, you will start to see breakage. You will start to see unnecessary hair loss and shedding. So I'm not advocating to remove all tools. That's not what I'm saying at all, girlfriend. I'm just saying that, you want to really use those tools. You want to use your fingers first and then maybe go in with a tool after. So in my experience, when I have a tool that I really love, it's the Felicia Leatherwood brush, and I've been using it for about maybe 3 to 6 months now, and it's been doing a really good job for detangling my strands quickly. However, if I were to go in with only the Felicia Leatherwood brush, I would have a lot of breakage because I haven't really gotten rid of the thick tangles. I haven't really gotten rid of anything that my fingers can get through. Ideally, if you've got the patience for it and you really want to see length retention and you really want to see your strands get thicker, then I would definitely say go in with what's it called? Go in with just your fingers only. But if you're, you have a lot of competing things on your deadline, you don't have time like that, or maybe you just don't want to, like, let's be real, then the next best thing is to use your fingers first and then go in after with a tool that might work. And again, similar to my other, my past, what do you call it there, tip, you want to go in with things and chart how it's working for you. So say today you use the Felicia Leatherwood brush, try that for a week, pay attention to what your hair is doing, or maybe try it for 2 weeks and see if you're losing the same amount of hair that you were losing with your other method. Then maybe you want to try and compare that with going in with a wide tooth comb. And then you can see which method works best for you. That's exactly what I did. And that's how I know that between using, say, for example, something like the Tangle Teaser, which I used and it ripped out my strands, wouldn't suggest it. But something like the Tangle Teaser versus the wide tooth comb versus the Felicia Leatherwood brush, I know based on having paid attention to my hair loss or the shedding and the breakage, I know that between those three products, that the Felicia Leatherwood brush is right for me. So again, no right or wrong way to do it, just the right way for you. And the way to know that it's right is that you're losing less shed hairs and you're losing less breakage. Actually, let me rewind on that. Shed hairs is not a bad thing to lose. You lose about 100 strands per day anyways, so that's not an issue. Your issue is if you're losing hair and the hairs are tiny. If the hairs are tiny and you're losing them, that means that's breakage, and that's always an issue. You always want to cut that out right away. That is never normal. PSR 076, yeah, shea butter is heavy. I try to avoid it in the products that I use. Yes, if you can avoid it in products, that's even better. Like, you are so on point. Like, especially if it's in the top 3 ingredients or even the top 5 ingredients. Top 5 ingredients of shea butter, I'm not overly happy about it, but I'm not overly stressed about it either. But if it's in the top 3, it's a no-go for me because it means the product is way too thick and it means it's going to break off your fine strands. What else? I feel like it really just comes down to understanding what your strands can and cannot handle. So getting your strands to look thicker, it's a combination of the products that you use, the methods that you use, and all the things that you do, around that. Another bonus tip, if you're still here, is that you want to really go in and massage your scalp. So I started massaging my scalp for the last 6 months, and I can honestly say, and I was a non-believer. Like, I didn't believe in, massaging your strands or massaging your scalp at all. I was like, whatever. The growth rate is the growth rate, and it is what it is, right? But I kid you not, you guys. Like, I went in and I've been, especially during this quarantine time, I've been massaging here and there, and I've been really enjoying some thicker, more growth. I feel like the growth that's coming in is stronger. If maybe it's in my head, maybe it's not, but something feels different. And I mean, it doesn't hurt. At the very least, it feels really good to kind of just go in with your fingers like that. So that's something that you could do as well to really increase the blood flow and increase the integrity of the new strands that are coming out of your scalp. Shadia, this I wish I learned before. You know what, girl? I used to feel that way too, like, especially since, like, I've been natural since 2009. So I've had, like, at least 2009, we're in 2020. So 11 years of being natural, 11 years of making so many mistakes. When I first went natural, I didn't even know the difference between moisturizing and conditioning. Like, that was how bad I was. I knew nothing about my natural hair. And so now my hair is the longest it's ever been in my entire life. It's the healthiest it's ever been in my entire life. And I can definitely attribute that to the fact that I've paid attention to what works and what doesn't work to my natural hair. I've really stuck the course. If you're at a stage in your natural hair growth journey where you feel like desperate, you feel like your hair is like unattractive, you don't feel comfortable with it, you feel like you have to really rely on other things like weaves, wigs, braids, whatever, to, feel good about going out in public, I was there too. I was 1,000,000% there too. And it's an internal journey. It's an emotional journey, just as much as it is a physical and external journey. A lot of the times when we talk about natural hair, people